Leeds, Leeds, Leeds. What is happening? Welcome to Working Hours, an oral history podcast about a place called Leeds, a time called now, and an activity called work. Working Hours wants to record 1,000 loiners over the course of this, the most important decade in the history of the human species, and ask them about what they do all day and hear how they feel about it. My name is Simon, and this is all my fault. My mission here is to try to map out what my city, Leeds, a city that has declared a climate emergency, did during humanity's biggest emergency. On Working Hours, we hear how loiners have, are, and will be coping with our multiple and expanding crises during their day-to-day working hours. Can we turn things around? We'll find out. To tell this story, I need loiners like you, dear listener. I need people in Leeds or people from Leeds to come on this podcast and just tell me what they do all day and let me record how this affects us. Thank you for listening. What did you want to be when you grew up?
So, when I was very, very little, apparently I wanted to be either a window cleaner or a hairdresser, even though I've never shown any interest in either of those. But apparently it was just because I liked watching my grandma's window cleaner. But then when I was, 5, 6 or something, I just loved writing. I've always loved writing. Even before I could write, apparently my mum used to sort of write down my stories for me, and I would sort of tell her what to write, even if it was complete gobbledygook. And yeah, I always wanted to be a novelist. I sort of got this reputation, I remember at primary school in year 5 or 6 as the school author, because I'd write these books on Microsoft Word and put these rubbishy little clip art images on them, and then I'd print them out and laminate them and bring them into school, and my teacher would read them out to the class. So that was my brief moment of fame. Yeah, that kind of continued until I got to uni, really. That was what I wanted to be, a novelist.
Did you do English then at uni, or?
I did creative writing.
You're listening to Series 4, Episode 17, and to my guest, Becky Holderness. This is a Zencastr interview recorded on the 14th of March 2023. Becky Holderness is a content writer, copywriter, and trainee script editor who's trying to break into her first job in TV. She's worked in a variety of roles over the past few years, including as a sales assistant at the Lego store, a Brand Voice Copywriter, and a scripted development assistant. She's currently working as a freelance content writer, writing articles for Welcome to Leeds, a platform that showcases the best of Leeds culture, creativity, and communities. Although she loves writing a variety of content, she's been working hard over the past year to find a job in scripted TV. She went to Edinburgh TV Festival as part of The Network in August and was chosen for Screen Yorkshire's Beyond Brontes and Script Ed trainee programmes last year. Right, let's do this. Episode 97 of Working Hours with Becky Holderness. So what is it that you're doing now?
Yeah, so now I'm kind of in a funny position where I'm sort of between jobs in a way, but also working freelance. So at this very moment in time, doing some freelance article and blog writing. But I also, in my free time, write some little screenplays and scripts. And my dream really is to be a screenwriter, but I'm not there yet. So I'm just sort of doing any writing that I can get my hands on and that pays well.
Yeah. So you've stuck with the writing then?
Yeah, I can't imagine myself doing anything else. Even if it's not doing the writing, I've been training to be a script editor. It's just kind of anything that involves, I guess, working with words, if you like, has always interested me.
So, have you thought about plays? You mentioned screenplays. Is it more film that you were interested in, or?
Yeah, I have written a theatre play, and I think that would be really cool as well. It's just I just really like TV, and I'd really like to write for TV, write a TV series. I feel like screenwriting suits me better because it's more about characters and dialogue. So it's like it was always what I was sort of meant to do, if that sounds cheesy, but because I just always wrote stories that were like really dialogue heavy.
Yeah, like conversation pieces.
Yeah.
So why are you still in Leeds? Why didn't you? Have you been down to London? Have you moved to London? Because that's the goal, especially when you're doing writing and TV and film and so on. I mean,
it's such a difficult thing because I see so many jobs that look ideal that pop up in London, and I would love to do them, but also I can't really afford to live in London at this point in my life. And if I did, I'd have to live in like a little bedsit or something, or like share a flat with 15 people and live in a pokey room. And I don't know. I've kind of told myself like if I don't get where I want to be in like a year's time, then maybe I'll seriously consider London. But I just really don't want to. I like living up north, and well, heck, I'd even go somewhere like there's a big TV scene in Cardiff. I'd happily go there. I'd happily go nearly anywhere that isn't London because I like having a nice quality of life, and I like having my own flat.
Yeah. It's the expense then that's putting you off mostly.
Yeah, like I'm not really a city person, but I'd be alright with living in London for like a few years just to sort of get things started, and I think it'd be pretty cool because there's a lot going on there. But I've got used to this way of living where I share a one-bed flat with my boyfriend, and we have a little balcony, and we don't have to share the fridge with anyone else. And I'm like, I don't know if I could go back to living like a uni student again.
Yeah, no, that's totally understandable. I mean, I was down in London for 10 years, so it is good. The first year I was there was awful.
I imagine like once you get a bit more established, because obviously, I mean, I know London wage doesn't exactly cover accommodation and everything, but I guess once you've started earning, it's a bit easier maybe.
Yeah. So I should have asked you before we started recording, but I know you're involved with Leeds 2023 as well.
I mean, the International Festival of Ideas.
The International Festival of Ideas. What are you involved with there?
I've just been doing some sort of freelance writing. It's for a company called Chapter 81, and I've been just sort of writing recommendations of places to stay and things to do, places to eat while people are staying in Leeds for the festival. Which, honestly, I've learned a lot about Leeds, even though I've lived here 2 years. I feel like there's so many places that I didn't even know existed. Yeah.
It's, I like just doing this. I mean, I've spoken to 3 authors doing this, and I didn't know we had one author in Leeds. So, I mean, I suppose it was like, there's probably one, but I didn't know there was this much of a writing scene in Leeds.
Yeah, I guess, well, I suppose there's lots of creative courses, like there's Leeds Beckett and there's like the Northern Film School up here. But I feel like wherever you go, there's always writers. Like when I was living in Lancashire at uni, like Liverpool was like the next city over because I was living in a teeny tiny village in the middle of nowhere. And I set up a writers group in Liverpool. And it's so surprising that the amount of people that are interested in writing, even if they've never really done it before. And all sorts of people from like all sorts of backgrounds. And we have like now a playwright, and then we have people who just, I don't know, do a 9 to 5 that's not related to writing and then just come along and bring like a piece of poetry or something.
Yeah, people write a lot of poetry.
I don't write a lot of poetry, but actually, surprisingly, there's only really one person at my writers group that consistently writes poetry. Maybe I've just not found the poets yet.
I suppose with poems, because if you're writing, unless it's a short story, you're going to have to write so much. Poems seem like I can make that. It can be quite short, and I can keep messing with it.
Yeah, I definitely would say that, yeah, but I don't know. It's been so long since I've written a poem that for me, I think it'd be a lot harder. Although sometimes, funnily enough, I get the really strong urge to write poetry when I'm in a really bad mood, and it just kind of comes out of me like a little stream of anger, and then I feel better. And then I just sort of never look at the poetry again.
Do you keep them though?
I do, yeah. I have quite a few from various points in my life. They're just like a complete mess of scribbles because I was sort of very angry and like channeling all the rage and passion and whatnot into the poetry. But yeah, I do have them somewhere.
It might be something to go back to there. That's the thing, isn't it? Like keep them, and then in a few years, maybe even when you're established, you can be like, "Oh, here's my book of poems," and then edit them a little bit before they.
Although to be fair, I think they're like way too personal for me to like ever share with the world, and also potentially targeted at like a certain person.
Yeah, a bit too specific.
Me. So I don't know how I'd feel about sharing that with the world, but maybe if I made it like more anonymous.
So before I move on to questions, I just want to get, because you did creative writing and it sounds like you're starting to do, or you have done a fair bit of copywriting. I mean, for you, is it just to be writing? Do you see a specific difference between copywriting? Do you think they transfer well? Like, what do you kind of see as the differences there?
I'd say, I think there's definitely a difference generally between copywriting and content writing. I think it also just depends on the client a lot, because some people see copywriting as being like, oh, you need to get SEO keywords in here, and it needs to be structured a certain way, and it needs to be 1,000 words because that ranks better in Google searches and that kind of stuff. I get it. I know that it's important, like if you're a business and you're needing to make money, but that kind of stuff just kind of sucks the life out of it a bit for me. I don't actually mind working around keywords because it's kind of like a little challenge to just sort of get them in as naturally sounding as you can. But yeah, I'd say copywriting or content writing I'm doing at the moment for chapter 81, that stuff's really interesting because it's more about being entertaining and just providing really good amount of information. And because it's like event stuff, it's just quite interesting. Whereas in the past, I've written for clients like family law firms, which is not something I've ever had any interest in writing about. And don't get me wrong, sometimes you have to do that to make money. But yeah, I worked as a copywriter at a marketing agency for like 9 months or so. And it was a really good sort of grounding in everything. And it's also really good discipline, I think, is copywriting, because even though I'm not writing screenplays, which is what I ideally want to do, it's just writing, and you have deadlines, which are very good for writers because, well, very much known to procrastinate things. So I think the good thing about it is it's like, oh, I have 3 hours to write this article, otherwise it's not profitable. So I just sort of have to reach a point where it's like, it's good enough, proofread it, send it out, it's done, and it's just quite satisfying. I think it sort of balances having my own creative projects quite well, because mine can just drag on forever and ever, and it's difficult to decide when they're finished for yourself, whereas copywriting, it's here is the deadline, get it done by then, it's got to be submitted.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. And as well, you know, it's not like you're doing your creative writing at night and then not writing anything, you know, like you're being paid to do what you wanted to do. So that helps being in the same area. And then, you know, you're kind of developing your skills, you're developing your knowledge as well while you practice.
Yeah, I like to think it's all helping, because even though my dream is to work in TV, I feel like at least I'm sort of practicing being creative and, I don't know, all the skills like reaching deadlines and whatnot. Yeah, I just couldn't see myself working in a job that had sort of no sense of creativity. I think I'd really struggle with that. I've worked in retail at various points in my life. I mean, first of all, I'm just not cut out for it because I'm definitely more of an introvert, and I just get really socially drained by having to talk to people and make conversation all the time. But also, it's just the same, well, not the same thing every day, but, you know, you don't exactly get any freedom of expression, just working as a retail worker, being like, hi, how's your day? How are you doing? Can I help you with anything? Not that I'm cynical about it at all.
I mean, I totally sympathise with that perspective, but there will be people in retail who are like, well, it's massively freeing because, I get to be all personality and
Well, I think it
sales as well.
depends on where you work a lot as well.
Yeah.
Because I've worked in places where it's very prescribed what you have to say. Like, you have to talk to someone when they come in the store within 3 minutes, and you have to ask them an open question, not a yes/no answer question. And it's just like, why am I doing this? Like, nobody really cares. Nobody responds that much better to me asking, how are you? Or compared with, do you need help?
I think it's one of those, like, for me, it was always like when I did sales or anything, it was always that impression of like, I don't like having to deal with salespeople. It's that sort of thing of like, I wouldn't like to be treated like this. So you can see that it makes sense to them on their bottom line of, well, if we do more of this, we get more of this. So if we get all the staff to do this, but if it doesn't feel right, you don't feel comfortable doing it, do you?
No, I feel like if it was just generally be friendly with people and say hello and ask them if they need help, but not have it like this is a set time period you need to talk in them too. I did like talking to people at the store, like, has so many random conversations about anything and everything, and there are like moments where, like, one time there was this guy in the store who was like in a real panic, and this was like the one moment in retail that made me feel good about working there. He like, I asked him if he was okay, and then he was like, no, I'm not okay, I'm really overwhelmed, it's so busy outside, I just need to like come in here and take a break. And he was like in a complete panic and really not doing well. And then I went off, and then other people were like, Becky, he won't talk to anybody but you, like, will you go and make sure he's okay? So I ended up basically giving this guy like a 20-minute therapy session practically, where I was like, it's trying to, like, obviously you can't I'm no qualified therapist or anything, couldn't solve his problems, but I was like, is there anyone you can talk to? I don't know, maybe you can phone this help service and, get some help with your anxiety and whatnot.
Yeah, but a friendly face and, like a bit of patience goes a long way a lot of the time. So, if you just needed some quiet and some, like, I just need to feel better, you're offering that reassurance at least. So
yeah, like, I would like the idea of working in a place where I don't know, interact with people. I guess just, again, I just don't like the idea of it being forced and all like sales target driven, which I know, like, you have to do that sometimes because at the end of the day it's work, but I just want to have like a nice chat with someone that comes in the store.
Yeah, me too. That's my whole aim.
Yeah.
It's like, put a podcast out, put social media out, advertise this, do that. It's like, I don't want to. I just want to chat to people.
Yeah.
Just see what they're doing and like see what they think. And
people are interesting.
Yeah.
So many interesting people in the Lego store. I mean, so many like scary people as well.
People who are really, really, really into it.
Yeah, or people that get really enraged when the set that they want isn't in, and then they like take it out on you, and you're like, chill, it's just a load of plastic bricks, like, calm down.
So I'm going to go into questions. I normally start with COVID because it's a good way into changes that have happened already in the decade. It's a nice way to look at kind of the mental health and work-life balance, and also kind of the amount of work we sort of went through, and all the other changes we went through COVID and the various lockdowns. Yeah. So if you can think back to sort of where you were work-wise as we went into lockdown, like at what point you locked down, and then how was that initially? Was that way more work, like cancelling things and getting in touch with people and checking in, or was it just everything dropped off and you just sat around twiddling your thumbs for 2 years or whatever? What was the experience?
So for me, at the beginning of lockdown, I was actually still at uni. So I was in second year, And that just completely basically kind of ruined my uni experience from halfway through, because obviously we had to go and move home. All lectures were online. There was no socializing with anyone apart from by video call. So I don't know, it didn't feel like the work. Honestly, in a way, it felt like there was more time for the work, because I'm not going to lie, some of the lectures aren't always that useful. I don't mean to sound really bad towards my uni, because don't get me wrong, I had a brilliant time overall, but there were like some 4-hour lectures where it was like, I really don't know what I'm doing here or what I'm learning. So you could kind of be a bit sneakier with doing work while you were in a lecture. So it kind of felt like you got more done, really. But then again, it was like you reached a point where you're like so bored of just sitting in the same 4 walls. And I think especially as a writer, like you don't really feel, you get a lot of material from like the world around you and just sort of eavesdropping on people's conversations on the train, which I'm very guilty of. But it's like, how are you supposed to get inspiration from just sort of sitting in the same place and going for like 1 walk a day? It was quite hard. But then again, I did actually write a screenplay during lockdown, which got produced. I think the good thing about that was, because everybody was stuck in the same position, it made us all sort of reach out to each other more, and people couldn't be like, oh yeah, I'm too busy, because they didn't generally have as much on. So I managed to coordinate this project. Well, someone else coordinated it, but I was brought on board. It was like 2 actors, a director, a producer, and me, the writer. And it was a great time. Like, we had so many Zoom calls and everyone was just like bouncing ideas off each other. It was great. Like, I wish I could do that kind of thing again, because it was really fun. And I sort of wrote the script knowing the actors as well. Like, one of them did actually change because he got a gig somewhere. But yeah, it was really cool because I got to send drafts in and then have the actors actually read the drafts back to me. And then I could like really listen and watch and see what did and didn't work. And then I guess like towards the end of the pandemic or lockdown or whatever, I think that was when I did a master's course for all of 6 weeks. And then I quit because I really didn't enjoy it. And
was that still online at that point then?
No, it was in person, but it was like we all had to wear masks. The windows were open. It was blooming freezing because it was September and it was still really cold. So we were just there like shivering in the classroom, socially distancing and with masks on. I mean, it wasn't due to that I didn't enjoy the course. Just didn't enjoy it.
No, but that adds to the dystopian feeling of it.
Oh yeah, it was quite scary as well because it was like the first time I'd mixed with such a big group of people in ages, and I have a number of underlying health conditions, and I was like so scared that I was going to catch something and be like end up in hospital or something, but that was fine. But yeah, I left that and then I went to work at the Lego store. Well, actually I started working at the Lego store during the Masters because I was short on money. And it was a strange one doing customer service with a mask on. But funnily enough, I actually found it less draining because I only had to think about moving my eyes.
Yeah.
So like, they're always like, oh, smile at everyone. So you can't like, when you've got your mouth hidden, you don't have to make as much effort with smiling. So I don't know, I kind of preferred it. Also, it was so weird when I saw my co-workers for the first time without masks on. I'd known these people for 3-4 months or something, and then I saw the rest of their faces and I was like, who are these people? Like, it's always like you just get an image in your head of what their mouth and their nose looks like, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, my whole like perception of this person has changed.
Yeah.
Not as to who they are, but as to what they look like.
Yeah. Well, I had an interview with someone recently and they'd listened to a couple of the shows. And, when you hear a voice, either on radio or whatever, and then you see the person and it never matches. They never look like they sound.
I mean, yeah, I'll say the same as well. I listened to one episode of your podcast and you can never predict how somebody looks.
No. But you do. is the thing. You hear a voice and you like an image sort of conjures in your mind. Like
Yeah,
never
it's
defined, but
weird.
like you have a set idea, I think.
It's kind of like this, I don't know, maybe it like stems from the fact that we're just like in the historic ages, we'd obviously never just hear someone's voice without seeing their face. So it's like our mind has to, fill that gap in.
Yeah, I mean as well so I've written screenplays, not had anything made. Did stuff that I made myself when I was younger. And when you write, I guess it's the same for you, but if I'm writing characters, I'll have a voice and an image in my brain. And they'll never be what, like if you get casting or whatever, they're never going to be exactly like that. But then that's part of the development of the character. The actor brings something, not just the look, but the voice and the expression and so on. And like you say, testing the dialogue and tweaking it when you hear it spoken out loud.
I feel like for me, there's literally no more exciting experience than like having somebody act out your words. I recently I wrote a comedy sketch, and this director I'm in touch with, he produced it for me, and it was just so surreal seeing two people I'd never met in my life just acting out my script. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, well, it's that, having an effect on the world, I guess. It's kind of like, I wrote that. They're saying that.
Yeah, and now it's out there.
Yeah. Let's go. Well, we'll do a bit on the work-life balance and kind of mental healthy kind of things. Obviously, mental health has become a much bigger thing post-COVID. Work-life balance,
I think that's one of the good things that's come out of COVID.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I've talked to a lot of people on the show who, they sort of had a good COVID. I think most of us have found things that we liked about lockdown, we hated. So, yeah, I mean, it was nice that it was quieter, less noisy, less polluted, all of that kind of stuff. But, it was boring as well. Yeah, I mean, when you write now, do you have an office space? Do you work on the end of your sofa or on the bed, or like how do you work?
So I'm kind of a mixture of working in the flat. I always work at the table. I'm not one of these people that could work on the sofa or the bed because I just, I'd just kill my back. But I work in my flat, and then I also, at one point I did have like a co-working subscription to, Wizzy Workspace. So I worked there for a while, which is quite nice. Just especially nice because like the people on reception would greet you, and it felt like I'd spoken to someone that day.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly I just sort of coffee shop hop at the moment. I have a friend as well who's a freelance writer, so we kind of almost hold our own co-working sessions. So we just like bring our laptops and work together, and that's quite nice because we can just have a little bit of a natter and then work and then have a little coffee break and just sort of go through the same things, because she's like, oh my gosh, I'm procrastinating like crazy today, and I'll be like, oh my god, me too, yeah, and like, oh, we can do this.
It's beneficial though. It helps, it helps to know that there are other people going through what you're going through.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so do you find, can you kind of work anywhere at any time? Are you like, I work better in the afternoon and I work into the night? Or you are like, get up early, do however many hours, best part of the day, all that kind of stuff?
I am definitely not an early morning productive person. I struggle to get up early. I do mean to get up earlier than I do, but it's not happened yet. I mean, I get enough work done, so it's fine, but I'm more of I don't know, I do sometimes get like a quick burst of productivity in the evening. I feel like that's when a lot of ideas come to me that I'll jot down, or I just suddenly feel the urge to like write for an hour. But I'm sort of trying to structure my day a bit more, like a 9 till 5 or a 10 till 6 or whatever, just because then I think it's easier to sort of not blur the boundaries between like work and rest. because I've been a bit guilty of sort of overworking myself. I think, especially when you're like self-employed and sort of searching for more work, it's really easy to just feel like you've never done enough, which is definitely something I'm guilty of. And then you just end up overworking yourself and not having any fun. So I'm sort of trying to sort of cut myself off and be like, I need to stop working by like 6 or 7 at the very latest. And then that is my evening time, and I need to do nothing productive towards my career and just, eat dinner and watch TV and go for a walk or something.
But that we can say now that is productive. It's essential, like the refreshment, like clearing of ideas, the having a break, and also I think it's good to have something that you need to do tomorrow, kind of thing. Because if you try and cram everything in and you've done it all in one go, and then you wake up the next day and then you're like, and then it'll take you ages to get going again, and then you get going, and then you're like, oh, I've got to work until I've done this idea, and then you want to also try and keep, you don't want to be totally antisocial and just be like Batman or whatever, only around at night,
Yeah. No, I think, it's still something that I'm sort of working to balance. I've not yet got the balance quite right, but I guess it's all just a trial and error thing, isn't it, really? I'm sort of a strong believer in the fact that we're not really designed to sit at desks all day, and I'm quite a not restless person, but I don't like to just sit still for hours and hours generally. So I think one thing I like about working in the flat is I do so much stretching. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that in an office, but I'll just like go and do downward dog or something. Or I don't know, go like stare in the distance from my balcony to try and like rest my eyes a bit or something. I guess that's what's quite nice about working for yourself, is you can just do that thing.
But again, that's essential for your long-term health and so on. I mean, like, it's very easy to kind of neglect, especially when you're younger. Like you mentioned your back. I ruined my back from sitting in office chairs for years and not moving around enough, So it's essential, and it's finding that balance for yourself. One of the things that I really hate about work, like commute is one of them, and the other one's alarm clocks. I can't tell you how much I hate alarm clocks when they go off. So since I've been doing this for however many years now, it's been so nice just to wake up when you wake up,
Yeah.
And then
there's nothing worse than a rude awakening, and then you're just like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed. And
well, that's it. It's the horror of the alarm clock and the commute that's, I think for me, it's like 50% of my hatred of work. Once you get there, it's fine.
No. I would literally rather walk like 40 minutes to work than get on like a 10-minute train or bus. Because personally, for me, it's all the waiting around. Like you have to plan, like what if it's late? What if it's early and I miss it? How long does it take me to walk from my flat to the station, then from the station to my work? And it's like, if I can just walk directly from my flat to my place of work, even if it's 40 minutes or whatever, it's just so much easier. And it's just nice. Like you don't have to rush as much. You can just sort of get lost in your own thoughts a bit and I guess get some exercise in as well.
Well, you don't have to start the day with stress, do you? Like you say, I've missed this bus, or I've got to catch this bus, or my alarm, I slept through my alarm, or it went off too early, or I woke up before it, which is even more annoying because it's going to go off in 5 minutes and all of that kind of drama. It's like, that's before you've even gone into the job.
I know, it didn't really set you up very well for the day, does it?
Right, we'll do the next question. I'm going to save social media towards the end. So we'll do Brexit. So
okay.
I think this will be quite short with you anyway. So it's about how it affects your work. Well, before I do Brexit, I would just say the quick thing on COVID. Do you think there's been any long-term changes for you from COVID? Or just your expectations, I guess, of work and compared to how it is to actually work now, maybe?
Yeah, I feel like I did struggle to sort of socialize with people more and talk face to face afterwards, which I guess is probably pretty universal. Work-wise, I think it's definitely changed more. There's more hybrid and remote working options, which is nice. But then again, there's also more just remote options, which I don't like as much. I kind of like that balance of seeing people, but also not having to commute in every day. So I think just like the way of working has been the biggest change for me, really.
Has it do you think it's opened up work for you in that you can potentially work anywhere in the world from your home?
Yeah, I think that is a really good thing, especially because I'm trying to get into TV and I can do things like script reading and researching roles remotely. So that's really good because obviously otherwise it's very London-centric. So yeah, I guess it does. It has opened up some more opportunities in that way.
Have you benefited from that yet, though?
Well, it's hard to say because I don't really know how much of it would have been remote beforehand because I wasn't in that world at that time.
Yeah.
But I have done some script reading and I did a placement that was mostly remote, and that might not have been as much of a thing before COVID. So I guess I got that out of it, yeah.
Another thing that I should ask you about for your copywriting, have you used ChatGPT or any AI or anything yet? Like, we can maybe take this out.
Well, funnily enough, my boyfriend that would encourage me to give it a go because he really interested in AI and stuff. And he was like, do you think it would write, if you told it an article to write and gave it like instructions and told it like the tone of voice, do you think it would do it? So we just sort of experimented, and I wrote a lot of articles on pregnancy for Aptamil in my last job. So I sort of plugged in a title, write an article about the benefits of breastfeeding in a conversational, reassuring and empathetic tone for new mothers. And oh my God, it just turned out this thing that was like, I could have written that. It was quite scary. And then also got me thinking like, are we going to be replaced soon? So part of me was kind of relieved that I'd partly left the world of copywriting because that was a bit scary.
Yeah, that's not a job anymore now, is it?
No. Yeah, it was weird. I try not to think about it too much, to be honest. It does scare me a little.
Yeah, like I want to play with it a bit more, but I think like I want to start using it for job applications. I'm like,
that's an interesting.
I'm not going to write a job application. So it's here, here's what you want to hear. Here's what the machine tells you want to read.
Yeah. So, I mean, anything that makes job applications easier.
And university applications.
Yeah. PhD, I mean, one thing about ChatGPT is I like to think that it couldn't write a script because I feel like there's too much to it. Like, you can't really... We tried doing that with it, and it just kind of wrote a really boring exchange between two characters where it was like, hello, I'm Bob. Hello, Bob. How are you? I'm good, thank you. How are you? And I was just like, okay, hopefully my career as a screenwriter is saved.
Do you know what that tells me though is that the internet is just full of loads of really bad screenplays.
That could be true as well. Yeah, just plug some Happy Valley into it or something, and it should be only from produced media. So then that narrows it down. But even then, be people that argue that most of it's dross, or other people that say, well, your big budget ones are dross. I mean, there's always formula in these things, isn't there? Yeah, I do feel like it's one thing about screenwriting that I kind of like is that there is a sort of formula to it. I mean, you have to have creativity and it has to make sense, and it's more than just a formula. But I think I like that it has sort of some constraints to it.
So we have Brexited in 2021. So has it changed your work at all? I mean, I suppose it'd be quite hard for you to notice that change.
Yeah, it's not changed my work. I guess it's changed my idea of my future, if you like. I always dreamed of living and working in another country at some point, and obviously that's going to be a lot harder if I want to do that. Although I do joke that my boyfriend is an EU citizen, and if I marry him, then at least I get EU citizenship. So I have one way out.
So yeah, it's always good to have another passport. So we've done COVID, let's do climate change. So I asked this question about sort of design and intention. And I asked because Leeds, as a city, we've declared a climate emergency. So it's relevant to us. In your work, is there anything that you can do with regard to adaptation, awareness, or mitigation of climate change? Does it come up at all in your work?
I guess not really. I mean, I feel like I'm at least not contributing to things as much with paperwork in that I deal with everything digitally. But yeah, I mean, I've sometimes written articles on like sustainability. Like I wrote for electric vehicle charger supplier and solar panel installation company. I mean, I like to think I'm fairly good at being environmentally friendly compared to, I don't know, most people. I don't want to say I'm not perfect.
People who go to space.
Yeah. And I don't fly every month or whatever. Or, I don't know. I'm quite good at recycling, and I make my own packed lunches and all little things like that. I mean, I can't save the world, but, you know, I try to do my bit.
I mean, so I've talked with other artists and creatives about sort of putting it in the work. So a big thing for me is, I think, you know, we can't get to a future we can't see. We need to see something before we can be something. And the people that can do that are the artists and so on. And I think we haven't reached that point where we've got proper climate art, whether it's, you know, the only stuff that we've seen has been, you know, really over the top or, you know, there's nothing kind of positive or constructive or genuinely critical. So I think that's going to come. I mean, do you write any speculative fiction, or do you write anything now? Like, I mean, for example, I'm thinking you could write about the hottest day, for example, and just, I don't know, there could be a story within that. But yeah, so I'll let you respond.
I don't know. I've not really written about it in a like fictional way. I've only written articles about sustainability. I guess, I don't know, might be selfish of me, but it doesn't really interest me writing about it. I like to keep certain things separate from my work, if you like. Don't get me wrong, I still think it's important, and if someone paid me to write about it in a fictional way, I would quite happily, but at the end of the day, I don't have that kind of freedom at this point in my life. And I guess I've just got so many other topics that interest me. Personally, don't get me wrong, climate change is very important, but my thing at the moment is sort of campaigning for rare diseases and raising awareness around that. So I am interested in, I don't know, helping to improve the world, but in different ways, if you like.
So we'll do the social media question. So this is around, like, more and more of us have to do social media for work, whether it's just producing content to advertise ourselves or our brand. And I got the impression that more and more of it, you know, it was less social. You know, there's plenty of people who'd call it anti-social media, but a lot more work orientated than, you know, we call it social media, but it is quite work oriented. So do you have to do any social media work for yourself, for your own brand, or your own self-promotion and so on? How much time does that take up of your working? And is that time well spent? Do you get a good return on investment from that time? Can you see results? You do a thing and then a thing happens for you.
So I think like over the past few months, I've started using social media more for promoting myself, mostly like Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Honestly, I'm not really sure how much success I'm having with it. I get quite a bit of engagement, especially on LinkedIn, because I know how to use it quite well from work. But it's not got me, well, I guess it got me this. So that's a success. What else? I don't know. I guess it's hard to say because people might look at my LinkedIn profile like for job applications without me even knowing. But it does feel like a lot of effort for not a lot of return on investment most of the time, really.
I mean, I think it's interesting that you've said, because obviously you've got that copywriting experience and so on. But I think, for your own self-promotion, it needs to be you need to have that voice that's not corporate, but personal, but professional. And it's developing that for yourself, which is easier to do in LinkedIn because you're in that professional mindset. But on something like Instagram, where you're kind of saying, I write all these different kinds of things, you can't sort of create one avatar for that. It's quite difficult to do.
Yeah, it is a bit difficult promoting myself at the moment because I'm sort of wearing two very different hats in that I've got my copywriting and content writing freelance business going on. And then I've got I want to get into TV as a development assistant script editor, script secretary part of me as well. And then I guess also there's the screenwriting part of me, which I'm aware is very unlikely to earn me any money at this point in my life because getting into screenwriting with no credits is a friggin' nightmare. So I'm under no illusion that I'm gonna get scouted who knows, but got to be realistic about it. So it's kind of like I need 3 different profiles for all these different parts of me. I guess, to be honest, I'm using social media to promote me getting into TV more at the moment because that is ultimately my dream and where I want to be. But then I've also sort of got my website, which I'm now putting a bit more of a content writing slant on it, or at least I've got a page on that just to sort of try and bring myself in some more customers.
Have you done anything where because I'm thinking, like, have you tried radio, or have you done anything where you say you've written a screenplay and then you've kind of adapted that to a different format? It's like, I've done the screenplay, that's a feature. Oh, I could turn this into a pilot and then a show. Done anything like that yet?
No, I haven't. I guess at the moment I'm just sort of trying to get small stuff produced. Like I have got a couple of scripts that directors are interested in producing. So I'm sort of working on them very slowly because I keep procrastinating and getting overwhelmed and worrying too much about the quality of it, what's new. But I did actually have I have a radio play on Spotify.
Oh, cool.
That I got in my first year of uni. That's my first credit.
Do you want to plug it, or do you want to not plug it?
I'll quite happily plug it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like I've developed since then, but I'm quite pleased with it. I do listen to it every now and then and still think like, oh, it's my words.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's definitely something to think about going forward. I think I just have almost like too much stuff on at the moment to take on any new projects that aren't paid or aren't guaranteed paid at the moment, just because I'm running out of money and I'm trying to get more copywriting work.
Yeah. I think that's everyone.
It's all a question of money, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and it's like, where do you put the energy? It's like, should I be putting the energy into producing the work? But if no one's looking at the work, should I be putting the energy into finding people who I can show the work to and go, look, I did this thing, I can do more things, and I can do this thing for you. And
it's so hard. Like for me at the moment, it's a balance of applying for work and actually doing work.
Yeah.
And I've sort of got to balance it out, do a piece, apply for somewhere, do a piece, apply for somewhere, because it's I still need more work, but also I need to do a good job for my current client because I don't want to lose them and I enjoy working with them.
Yeah. Do you segment your time then? Are you quite sort of like, I'm going to do 2 hours writing, I'm going to do an hour on social, and then I'm going to do an hour winging people or whatever?
I try to.
Yes, I try to.
Yeah, that is the aim. I don't always stick to it, but yeah, I am trying to, I think, less sort of segment my time, more just prioritize tasks, because I think I get a bit too caught up on this should take me 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's taken me 4. Oh my God, my whole day is ruined. So I'm just trying to be like, I need to finish this task first, and then I'll go into this task, no matter how long the first task takes.
Yeah.
Because I can be a bit, I don't know, overly strict with myself, and then end up being my own worst enemy with timekeeping.
Yeah. Have you thought about, and I'm going to move on to the last two questions in a second, but have you thought about any, one of the things that I did a lot, I'd go to various kind of, workshops and things like that, but have you done any like mentoring or business coaching or anything like that? Have you thought any of that could be any value to you yet? Or you just, I know what I'm doing, I just need to do it?
I do actually have a mentor for getting into TV. She works for a company owned by ITV. She's been really helpful because getting into TV is incredibly demoralizing, and some days I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing with my life. I feel like giving it up because it's so hard. But yeah, she's been incredibly helpful. I mean, I don't have a mentor for like copywriting and things, but I guess it's not really a long-term thing for me. So
experiencing it already, so like you're a known quantity there and you know how to do it.
Yeah, I feel like it's less how to do it, it's more where to get the clients. But yeah, my TV mentor's been incredibly helpful, and I think I've got her for like another 6 months or so. So I'll try and get the most out of her while I can.
Yeah. I mean, and then it's just useful, like with the co-working, it's useful to have people going through similar things or who have been through it, and that you can...
Yeah, well, my friend Gina's incredibly helpful because she's made a big success of her business like over the past year and stuff, and clearly I think has established the work-life balance a bit better than I have as yet. But yeah, it's just nice to have people, I guess, going through a similar thing. Or seeing that she's making enough money, so it must be possible.
Yeah, that's the other thing, seeing that it's possible, that it's not just, there's only 5 people that ever make it and the rest of us are all just wasting our time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go on to the more fun 2 questions. I think they're more fun anyway. So if you could change any 3 things about your work, what would you change? So you can go as practical as you want or as wild as you want, and it can be 3 or none or however you want to answer it. So up to you.
Oh. Well, I kind of want to say the first thing would just be to have a full-time job in TV would be the thing I'd change about my work. Yeah, it's what I've been working towards for like the past nearly year now, and I'm like, if I could wave a magic wand and it would happen, that would be the dream.
Yep.
Second thing, if I could change anything, I guess I'd like to see people more. I think I'd like to have the option of like working in an office or working with other people face to face. That'd be nice. Just a bit more hybrid working, I guess, rather than just fully remote. Third thing, just have to think on that a minute. I don't know. I guess I'd just earn more money. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to be brutally honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a common one. A lot of it's sort of more money, more time, and time is money.
Actually, yeah. Well, I guess I kind of have the option of working however long I like, but I would like to have like a 4-day work week someday in the future. That'd be nice.
If you were going to design the perfect role, would it be like a kind of staff writer, old school, like a proper career? You go to a job, but with a bit of flexibility where you can work better hours and maybe remotely occasionally. Would that kind of be the ideal, or am I misrepresenting it?
Yeah, I think so. And in an ideal world, I'd be able to walk to this job.
Yeah.
And have quite flexible hours.
Would there be a canteen?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There'd be free snacks as well.
Yeah.
Very important. And a coffee machine on site.
Yeah, and a yoga room.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't ask for much.
Final question is the UBI question. So are you familiar with Universal Basic Income? Have you heard of the idea?
I did have a little look at what it meant. I think I've kind of got the idea.
Yeah. So as I say, normally it's like, it's another way of me asking, what would you do if money was no object? But it's also another way of me asking, like, the main reason I've heard of why we can't have a UBI. So people do economic arguments and stuff. I'm a modern monetary theory kind of person. So I know we print our own currency. Like, we could do this. We have enough money. We need to detach work from capital because capital doesn't know how to allocate us because it's burning us. So, you know, if people were working less, had more time and so on, that's my direction of travel with it. But if you had an amount that basically gave you enough to live, you could pay your basic bills and so on, would you still work? And if you would still work, would you still do what you're doing now? And if you were doing what you're doing now, how do you think it would change? Would it be easier to do? Would it be harder to do? Do you think there'd be more competition?
It definitely wouldn't change my need to write and my want to have things published and out there. I think I still would like to work in TV, even if I didn't have to. I think I just like having a purpose. I'm not saying that not working does not have a purpose, but just, I don't know, for me it's important. But I also kind of worry that I think most people think they can be a writer, even that sounds really judgy of me.
No, it's fine.
But
say it.
I think so many people have the dream of being a writer that it would just be, it'd be nearly impossible to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Or like incredibly competitive. So I think that could be a bit of a problem for me.
Do you think better stuff or just more dross?
More dross.
We all had to compete more with each other. Would it refine us better?
I don't know. I think there'd be like, I think it could go either end of the scale. I think there could be more great quality writing, but also more utter drivel.
Yeah, it would probably be both, wouldn't it? It'd be and both, really.
Yeah, but I think it's like, it's surprising the amount of people that want to write. Like, I see all sorts in my writers group, and sometimes it's a bit intimidating, like how many people want to write, and I'm like, oh my god, how am I ever going to make it myself already when there's all these people out there that are writing things? It's like, why didn't I pick a job that was more niche? But I know the job chose me, I didn't choose it, and all that.
Yeah. Well, follow your dreams and all that. That's not something that we hear so much anymore. It's grind and make money. And
I mean, if I had all the time in the world or more time, I think I'd just love to learn more languages, would be my main thing, and travel places. I speak Spanish and a bit of French and a bit of Italian, and I would really love to have more time to dedicate to them. Like, I decided as soon as I have a solid income, I'm getting French lessons because my boyfriend's family are half French. And I want
just
to
go and live in France for 6 months or a year or whatever. I know it's a bit harder now, but it's not going to be that hard, surely.
No, it's just all logistics, and also it's
expense.
hard. I'd have to work fully remote.
And up sticks and leave everyone and...
Yeah, I would like to at some point. We'll see in like 5 years or something. I want to at some point live in a different country. I'd just like more time to dedicate to my hobbies, really. I mean, wouldn't everyone?
So you don't have some kind of Hemingway drive to kind of, I've got to go and experience this so that I know more as a writer. You're not sort of like, I need to travel everywhere and see everything now. You're like, no, I just need to work on my writing and keep writing.
I mean, I feel a very strong urge to travel, but I think not necessarily for my writing. Just because I like traveling and I love Spain and I love staying there.
Yeah. So I was going to say because we've mentioned the kind of coffee shop laptop dream, which is a very kind of writer stereotype.
Yeah.
The other writer stereotypes, they sort of get up early in the morning and do however many pages.
Yeah, that's not me.
Well, I was going to say, is this other one you that like, I need to lock myself in a cabin in the woods for however many weeks and just do the writing and then come back?
I do love the idea of going on a writer's retreat, I have to
Mm,
say. Not necessarily locking myself away from the world,
mm,
but a change of scenery
mm,
and time carved out and being in a nice, I don't know, in the countryside or
mm,
by the beach or something like
mm,
that. That would be my dream, I guess.
mm.
Then again, you kind of can't force creativity, and I feel almost like I get there and just be so overwhelmed by the fact that I needed to be creative that I might not even end up being. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can't really predict how it would go.
You know, that's exactly what would happen.
Of course, yeah, that's what being a writer is all about. Like, you can have the perfect circumstances, but when inspiration's running dry, you can't force it.
Just be there in some retreat, cursing yourself. Like, I made this time. Why aren't I right?
Yeah, it almost feels worse being unproductive somewhere like that because you have no excuses, and now you're like, oh my god, I'm the problem.
It's not us. It's work. Work's the problem.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll do the plug for your Spotify if you're still up for
Yes.
doing that.
Yes.
So what's its name?
It's called Flatmates, and it's called From Page to Podcast by the PQA Academy. Yeah, it was part of a competition, and it's like there's a bunch of them, and then mine's got my name on it, and it's called Flatmates.
Cool.
It's about a first-year student who I think I kind of unintentionally wrote her as being autistic, but my autistic partner is like, yeah, she seems autistic, so we're going with that. And she just really struggles to she's very overwhelmed by like all the noise and the overwhelm of like socializing and sharing space with other people, and sort of reaches a point where she's like, she decides to take very drastic means to resolve things, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, that's left enough intrigue for me to check out. Yeah. So again, anything you want to talk about here, but also your social plugs or where can people find you?
So yeah, if you're looking for any content or copywriting, I have experience writing articles, blog posts, working across different social media channels, writing newsletters, web copy for a range of clients. And I have worked with some quite big names like Danone, Evian, Aptamil. I've worked with charities and mental health providers. I'm particularly interested in sort of well-being, physical, mental well-being, health, and also like sustainability and entertainment. So yep, if you're interested, please do get in touch because I have plenty of space for new clients. And I would also say if anybody is looking for a assistant script editor, office assistant, development assistant in scripted TV, I have a lot of experience. I've done quite a few trainee programs over the past year. I was part of the network for Edinburgh TV Festival. I worked with the Hollyoaks scripted team to write an episode of the soap. I did Screen Yorkshire's Beyond Brontes production training scheme, where I learned all the nuts and bolts of TV production. And I also did Screen Yorkshire's Script Ed pilot program. So it was a trainee script editor program where I got a placement working as a scripted development assistant at Lunalander Films in Sheffield. And I am very willing and able to start work and keen to hear from anybody who would like to have a chat about that.
Cool. Links in the show notes. So let's talk idols. We've mentioned mentors. So who, as you've obviously, starting off from window cleaning and seeing your glorious, glamorous window cleaner and aspiring to be there.
Funnily enough, I'm scared of heights, so I've been no good at cleaning the higher up windows.
Well, they've got those long sticks now, so you can stay on the ground.
Yeah, but in my apartment, I've seen them practically abseiling.
Abseiling out, yeah.
You're no good at that.
Yeah, who knew that all those climbers would have a whole new bunch of career options?
Yeah.
Windows on high rises. Yeah, so who are your kind of big inspirations? I mean, they don't have to be massive idols, but who are the sort of people that you like and kind of, or you think have done something exciting? Don't have to be all time, but just sort of who are the people that or what's been good recently that you're kind of like, that was amazing, I wish I'd written that? Or...
Yeah. Well, for me, it's quite easy. My screenwriting idol would definitely be Russell T Davies. Because I grew up watching Doctor Who and watching Doctor Who Confidential, and I feel like that was kind of the first time that I realised that people actually write TV. I don't know where I thought it came from before then.
But you don't think about it, do you? You don't think there's a job there until someone goes, oh, this is a job.
Yeah. And obviously with novels, it's easy. You see someone's name on it, written by so-and-so.
And sometimes you get a picture.
Yeah, a little biography. But yeah, I used to watch Doctor Who Confidential every single week. Completely mad about Doctor Who, David Tennant era specifically. But yeah, I just have such admiration for Russell T Davies' writing. Like, he's such a versatile writer and he writes characters amazingly. And I feel like, he did such a good job with bringing back Doctor Who. And it's just epic and cannot be beaten.
Thank you again to Becky for being my guest. You can follow Becky on Instagram at instagram.com/Becky Writes Scripts or on linkedin.com Becky Holderness. Thanks, as always, to all my guests, and thanks to you, Leeds, for being my subject. If you're in Leeds or from Leeds, if you are Leeds, then please come on the show. Yes, I am speaking to you. I still need to find over 900 loiners to interview, so being a guest is a massive help. Remember to like, share, follow and subscribe to Working Hours, and please consider supporting Working Hours financially with either a regular or one-off donation of any amount. You can email Working Hours at workinghourspod@western-studios.com. Okay, that's me. Work for peace and plan with kindness. Cheers ears, take care out there, and be kind to each other, Leeds. Working Hours is produced, recorded, edited and published by Simon Treen for Western Studios Leeds Limited. The music was The Bees from Chopin's Etudes, which is in the public domain and was taken from museopen.org. Follow Western Studios Leeds on Facebook at facebook.com/Western_Studios_Leeds, on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/company/Western-Studios. Western Studios Leeds will help you realise your podcast for only £25 for an hour of podcast work. Need podcast production, recording, editing, or any podcast admin doing? Need it all doing? Do you want or need a podcast host or co-host for your podcast project? Then get in touch with Western Studios Leeds Limited. Email makemypodcast@western-studios.com to get your podcast made. I am available to third sector organisations, small to medium-sized businesses and individuals who want to make podcasts or create other digital audio content. Want to make some fundraising case studies? Want to show off your expertise in your field? Want some help creating your show and format, or just some support learning to podcast and getting going? Whatever your podcast needs, get in touch with Western Studios Leeds. Go to western-studios.com and use the contact page to drop me a message about either Working Hours or about your own podcast project.